Russian President Vladimir Putin has held talks with African leaders on the Ukraine conflict and the Black Sea grain exports. He said Russia welcomes the balanced diplomatic efforts of the African nations.
I
would like to underscore that Russia has the utmost respect for the principled position of African states in favor of maintaining global and regional stability and security, the peaceful settlement of conflicts, and establishing a more just model of international relations. We support your aspirations to pursue independent, sovereign, and peaceful policies. We welcome the balanced approach of our African friends towards the Ukraine crisis.
The leaders met on Saturday in a palace near St. Petersburg. This comes after the African leaders met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday. The African delegation included leaders and representatives from 7 nations, including South Africa and Egypt. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said African nations have felt the impact of the conflict. He called for resuming peace talks.
We make this contribution with the greatest respect to both countries, respecting the positions that they have put forward, but also believing that there is a common position that can emerge, a position that can lead to peace. And we do believe that this is the time for both parties to negotiate an end to this war, because this war is causing a great deal of instability and harm to various countries around the world.
Let's bring in Professor David Monyae, an international relations and foreign policy expert. He's also the director and professor at the University of Johannesburg Center for Africa-China Studies. He joins us live via Zoom from Durban. Thank you very much, Professor Monyae, for your time. What do you think the African leaders have achieved in this peace mission, and what are the takeaways from their meetings with Presidents Putin and Zelensky?
I think when you look at the African mission, one major achievement is that they have built on other initiatives that President Xi Jinping, 12 points that he mentioned last year, and it's also a build-up on what the Turkish leader also had done last year. I think for the very first time in the history of this war, we have had, and the document that was supposed to have been signed, which President Zelensky abandoned at the encouragement of the Western world, it's now available for the world to see that there is a keen interest on part of Russia to resolve this. The other takeaway is also the disrespect in which particularly Ukrainian and by extension Polish have demonstrated to the African team, particularly the South African contingent that was stuck in Poland, failure to really give security for the president of South Africa. However, we also have learned that when it comes to Ukraine, the stalemate is based on the fact that the Ukrainian leader wants the Russians to withdraw completely before the discussions. And when it comes to the Russian part, I think the African delegation has also learned that Russia would not withdraw without clear demarcations. Firstly, that Ukraine should not join NATO. And secondly, there should be a protection of you Russian-speaking Ukrainians at the border in Donetsk region and Donbass. So these are key issues. The two warring parties are worlds apart when it comes to negotiation.
Now, President Zelensky told the African leaders the only way to peace is withdrawal of the Russian troops from his country, while Putin told them the global food crisis has nothing to do with the Ukraine conflict. So in simple terms, what are these two leaders telling the African peace mission to focus on?
I think it's either with us or you're against us. It's a clear message that is coming from the West, that the US and NATO members are not interested in peace at all. They are interested in pouring more weapons and worsening the situation. And I think the world is now starting to see that there are zones of the world that is pro-negotiation mediated solution to the crisis, while the others are on war mongering and worsening the situation on the ground at the expense of Ukrainians, an unnecessary war, which President Ramaphosa has put it clearly. It has a huge implication, not just on Africa, but the entire world, that instability continues in the world due to this crisis.